have you here.
Thank you.
So, as much as we love this dramatic plot and compelling performance on stage, let's not forget another hilarious and sometimes violent event off stage. That's theater riot. So we are here to have you to share us more information about it.
Of course, like any other area of human life, humans have extreme opinions that lead them to action, and theater is no different. The public can be considered the cultural parliament of a nation, and since the beginning of theater, this has been the case. Whether through riots, rebellions, or straight boycotting, the public has been trying to control what theater puts on for centuries.
Yes, and since the theater was still lit during performance, unlike today, they can freely express their perspective toward the actor they dislike. But how they show their perspective toward the theater they don't like at that time? So, were riot planned in advance, or were something just happened randomly?
It depends on the context. Some riots we will discuss today were started out of fear and anger, and others were planned in advance in order to create an even bigger disruption. Theater riots are an interesting thing since they normally revolve around current social problems or bigger conflicts coming in the world. Sometimes the show was not even the issue. The theater was just a public space that one could use to spread discontent quickly to a wide variety of individuals.
So can you give me some example that how theater riots happen in different countries?
Sure. One of the worst theater riots in London, for example, was the Old Price Riots of 1809. This riot was strongly influenced by class differences and the separation of the middle class from the upper class. The Old Price Riots were in protest and response to the raising prices of tickets at Covent Garden.
So what caused the price to increase?
The increase in prices were caused by the theater being burned down and them not being able to perform on site for 9 months. In hopes of offsetting the cost, John Philip Kemble, the current manager at Covent Garden, raised the prices of tickets in all sections of the theater. This made theater less accessible to the middle class, kicking off a chain of events that would lead to a 67-day riot.
67 days? Wow! Why and how does that last so long?
Well, for the next few months, those from the middle class would camp out in the theater and protest the prices. They would keep this protest going before, during, and after a performance, drowning out what was happening on stage, either through yelling or throwing items at performers, or even having their own performances in the audience. The rioters would find ways to keep the show on stage from being able to be successful.
I'm considered why nothing was able to stop this riot.
Well, the police were called and some individuals were arrested, but the protesters were able to turn all of it back on the theater and create even more bad publicity for it. After 67 days, Kemble surrendered and agreed to lower the prices. Only somewhat satisfied, the protesters made Kemble publicly apologize for locking the middle class out of the theater. It is said that the OP riots have changed the meaning of the English theater going forward.
So, since we're in America now, so why do we spend some time to talk about the theater riots that happened in America?
Yes. Well, records of public interference in the theater in the States have been documented as early as the Revolution. In the first few years after its formation, political battles were common in theaters. The Federalists and Jeffersonians would battle each other in the audiences before performances. They would compete with each other in patriotic songs before a show would begin.
Like in real life, Hamilton kept in the battle.
Exactly. George Washington actually stopped attending the theater because of this, due to not being a fan of public displays of politics. American theatergoers would also get rowdy in other ways as well. They would throw anything onto the stage, from fruits, nuts, to even furniture and animal carcasses onto the stage to express their displeasure.
So, I take it there's no other school of security theater out there like it today.
No, at least not to the same extent. Theaters, for the most part, were public spaces where people could smuggle in items, such as their meals from earlier in the day, in order to have things to throw at the performers.
Oh, I can imagine that in 1800s, there is conflict between British and American theatergoers with actors.
Yes, too many to list. Due to just being granted the right to freedom of speech, Americans were very vocal about their displeasure with the British rule. This also made the rivalry and hatred between anything English grow. There are very few exceptions to the Americans' animosity towards the British, but one of them was British actor Junius Brutus Booth, actually the father of John Wilkes Booth. Booth praised Americans' patriotic fever and became quite popular with them.
So this Bruce is one of the actors that America preferred.
Yes, he was very popular in the States, so popular that they felt a need to protect him. During his performance as Richard III in the States, American audience members actually jumped on stage during the final fight scene to make sure Booth's Richard had a fair fight. They ended up extending the fight scene for about 30 minutes.
So I take this is one of the examples of the theater interferences that was planning ahead.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the famous theater battles between the two countries that was centered around William McCready and Edward Forrest. I know that McCready is a gentleman with a traditional English acting style, but he daily mocking the American actor as a barbarian and say their acting would make a dog vomit. Actor and Forrest, a middle-class b-boy. Forrest, his fans dogged McCready every movement. This led the famous bloody theater riots that was Astor Place riot, which had 22 victims. And can you share more details about this event?
Yes, I would love to. Their feud began in 1846 when Forrest saw McCready's production of Hamlet and had the audacity to hiss at what he saw. This horrid public display of emotions kicked off a long and bloody rivalry. During McCready's American tour, Forrest and his supporters made life very difficult for the Englishmen, just as you said. During his performance in Cincinnati, audience members actually threw a dead sheep at the stage, and it is said to have hit the stage with a terrible thud. And to make matters even more dramatic, Forrest began following McCready's tour and would perform the same show in nearby theaters in order to draw crowds away from McCready.
Wow, that's hilarious, but the poor sheep.
On his tour, McCready eventually arrived at the Astor Opera House in New York, and this is where everything went wrong for these two. The night before the riot, McCready took to the stage as Macbeth, but was booed off by the audience.
So, of course, the performance is Scottish play.
Of course, what a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it fitting? McCready was about to give up on his quest, but is eventually convinced to stay and continue his tour after he was told that troops would be called in to protect both himself and the theater.
So, and then what happened?
Well, hearing that McCready would perform again, Forrest announced that he would also be playing Macbeth a few blocks away. Also looking to reap the benefits of political conflict, political nativist posters spread the conspiracy that British troops were going to attack New York during the performance. By nightfall, thousands gathered outside of the theater to protest against McCready, as well as to protect their new nations. Crowds soon became anxious and rowdy, throwing rocks at the troops and the theater, causing significant damage. The militia was eventually called in order to help quell the problem, in order to quell the swarming mob. They fired into the crowd, trying to get it to disperse when it became too rowdy and violent, but this ended up causing mass chaos, which left 22 dead and left hundreds in the hospital, and was the largest riot in America related to theater to date.
What a terrible and bloody riot.
It truly was, and I definitely think it set a precedent that security in theaters needed to be changed in order to prevent this from happening again. The Astor Opera House also did not last long after the riot, closing both due to the bad publicity and other issues related to the damage to the theater.
So since we have spent so many time in the past, how, like, we talk about something about the future, how will theater riot affect the future?
Well, thankfully, there are at least not as many on the same level as there were in the past. There's no exact answer for what caused theater riots to die off, but some ideas are that maybe because the theater started dimming their lights in the audiences during performance and better security. Theater, as we move forward in history, has become increasingly more political. Not to say that all theater is political, but it is definitely more common. Today, both theater and its audience members compete for who has the most dominant voice. Instead of riots, cancel culture is very prevalent and is used to control almost everything, and theater is not an exception. Public, like I said earlier, likes to be the cultural parliament of the nation, and as long as people have free will, protests and even riots will continue to happen in theater as well as elsewhere.
Oh, I would like to hear you share more, but we are running out of time. Thank you for your precious time.
Thank you.